Hello, BookTube. I have a tag for you today, another tag. This one is the Evita Book Tag, which was created by Juan at JustJuanReader and revolves entirely around Andrew Lloyd Webber's god-awful musical of the same name, Evita. And I thought it only right to do the tag since I am BookTube's other singing super hottie. So I thought we'd get right to it. Brace yourselves. Question number one. All the questions revolve around songs from the show. And the first one is, Oh, What a Circus. And if you'll recall from listening to the Evita soundtrack, it goes something like this. I hear singing, but there's no one there. I smell blossoms, but the trees are bare. All day long I seem to walk on air. I wonder why. I wonder why. I've been tossing in my sleep at night, and what's more, I've lost my appetite. Stars that used to twinkle in the skies are twinkling in my eyes. I wonder why. Don't need analyzing, it is not so surprising that you feel very strange but nice. Your heart goes pitter-patter, I know just what's the matter, because I've been there once or twice. Put your head on my shoulder, you need someone who's older, a rub down with a velvet glove. There is nothing you can take to relieve that pleasant ache. You're not sick, you're just in love. Forgot that was in there. And the question is, the prompt is death. A book in which death propels the story forward. And I thought no better book would fit the description than Death by George Pendle. It's a little book from a little over 10 years ago, I think, that is Death's autobiography. It's told by Death. And it's hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. I don't know if it's still in print, but I'm sure you can find a copy. And if you like it, you should drop the author a line and let him know that. Question number two is the song Buenos Aires. Once upon the road, I came upon a lad singing in a voice 3 times his size. And when I asked him why, he said that he was sad, and singing always made his spirits rise. And that's what simple folk do, I surmise. They just sing, I surmise. And the prompt here is a book in which setting plays a central role. I'm gonna play a little bit of a cheat on you here because it isn't out yet. The book isn't out yet. It's Horizon by Barry Lopez, the great nature writer Barry Lopez. And the setting for Horizon, unlike any of his other books, is the whole of planet Earth. This is an incredibly evocative and beautifully written memoir of his encounters with his homeworld. It is not to be missed. Any of you who've read Barry Lopez will already know he wrote Of Wolves and Men, he wrote Arctic Dreams, wrote a bunch of other stuff. Any of you who ever read him will already know you don't miss a book by him. So this is just another one of those. It's a nice, big, hefty thing. And the location is central. Let's see here. Prompt number 3 is A New Argentina. With, if memory serves, I was born in a ditch by a mother who left me there naked and cold and too hungry to cry. I never blamed her. I'm sure she left hoping that I'd have the good sense to die. Then, of course, there's my father. I'm told that young ladies can point to their fathers with maidenly pride. Mine was some regiment here for an hour. I can't even tell you which side. Kind of dark for Evita. And this one is a book revolving around power or politics. And I have one that does both. It's Hedrick Smith's book, The Power Game, about Washington politics. It's a big, meaty thing that is full of the byways and the Byzantine workings of the capital of the United States. And it is unfortunately evergreen. There has been and there will be no effective reform of this machine. So the Power Game reads as relevantly now as it did when it was written. So I'm not sure the Power Game is in print, but you should find it if it is, if you're interested in the subject. Let's see here. Prompt number 4, Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. The only famous song from the show. Because it's the only one that even comes close to having any kind of rhythm or sensical lyrics. And it's, when the morning comes too early, when the night's not long enough, when a tear of hesitation falls on everything you touch, Well, it might just be a lesson for the hasty heart to know. Maybe leaving's not the only way to go. And for this, the prompt is a classic book. And for a classic book, the field is infinite. But I'm going to narrow it to Argentina. I'm going to narrow it to In Patagonia by Bruce Chatwin. He was an odd literary figure, a brilliant writer who had very little discipline and no thematic concentration. So he mostly wrote about where he was or what he was feeling. And the results were all classics. He never wrote a book that wasn't great, even though a lot of them were hacked out on deadline and on trains and on his knee and in the bathtub and while soused. It doesn't matter. He had an ear, a musical ear. In Patagonia is a wonderful book. I believe that it is a Penguin classic, but there are a million different editions of it that you can find. Let's see here. The next one is number 5, and the song from Evita is Rainbow High. Who sail the ships back to Boston, laden with gold, see it gleam, whose fortunes are made in the triangle trade. Hail slavery, that New England dream. Mr. Adams, I give you a toast. Hail Boston, hail Charleston, who stinketh the most? Don't remember triangle trade being in Evita. I guess maybe I'm not remembering the show quite as well as I thought I did. And this one is a book that is majestic and grandiose. And the one I want to pick here is, I'm also going to stick with Argentina, Juan Luis Borges. And I'm not picking his fiction. I think his fiction is mostly wheezebox gimmickry. But he also wrote a ton of nonfiction. He wrote occasional pieces, essays, lectures, addresses, book reviews for his whole life. And Penguin, I believe, collected a lot of them into an enormous book called Nonfictions, in which you get to see true majesty, the only true majesty that's immortal. You get to see a gigantic, capacious, playful mind ranging over the whole of the intellectual landscape. It's incredible. It's incredible. I think you'd have to have a heart of stone to prefer the big volume that Penguin put out as fiction to that big volume. I couldn't, putting the two volumes next to each other, the fictions and the non-fictions of Borges, I can't imagine a more effective demonstration of the glories of nonfiction and the limitations of fiction. In the fiction, you can see this enormously inventive, incredibly intelligent man stooping over to fit inside the funhouse parameters of the child. Anyway. So I recommend Nonfictions by Borges. And I think that volume is a fifth of what he wrote. But it's a very good selection, and it's a very gamely translation. If I remember correctly, the translation really does it justice, because Borges will be in the middle of one of those incredibly long and tangled, beautifully embroidered sentences that Spanish makes possible. And then all of a sudden, they'll swim to the surface a glint of positively boyish humor. And before you notice it, it's gone. In the same sentence. That's extremely hard to catch in galumphing English. And I think this translator, if I remember correctly, I never had a problem with the translation, so I would recommend the book. And then the last question. The prompt is, and the money kept rolling in. And I confess, I saw Evita on Broadway, and I tried my hardest to block it out of my mind. And the money kept rolling in. Yes, I think it's time that you and I arranged a heart-to-heart. Kings don't need advice from little hornbills for a start. If this is where the monarchy is headed, count me out. Out of service, out of Africa, I wouldn't hang about. This child is getting wildly out of wing. Oh, I just can't wait to be king. Evita's coming out a lot peppier than I remember. And the prompt here is to name either a cheap book or an expensive book. And my answer, let me see it here, is people buy books. And there you have it, BookTube. That is the Evita Book Tag that was created by BookTube's other singing super hottie. Okay? So now you have the two videos as a kind of a bookend. Thank you, BookTube.